Hey, friends. So, it's been, as if you've been following my posts, you were aware that it's been a pretty intense couple days, and I I spoke yesterday about how the this post and what I do here is a moment of articulating something, and very often, not always, but very often, it's like I form the insight that needs to come through on a given day, in a given moment, by talking about it. And I think, this is something that, because it's so personal to me, this could be a writing practice. I think a writing practice might have a similar effect, where the mind just slows down enough to say or write something down, and thereby capture something that's really trying to come through, but that may require some clay to imprint itself upon. It's like these ideas that come through us need to find a foothold somewhere. They need to hit the world in some concrete way in order to become information we can use, insight we can use. And I read my poem by Hafiz. I have a book of daily. It's called the Daily Hafiz. It's a Hafiz poem for every day of the year, and they're so amazingly relevant and perfectly timed, seemingly every single time. Yesterday's poem was called "We Either Add or Detract," and I can't paraphrase it because it's not one I know well, but basically Hafiz says every time we open our mouth, we are either adding to ourselves or detracting from ourselves. And then he talks about every word you say, every sentence you utter becomes a magnetic field that someone has to reckon with. And I recognized in that poem, in the sort of essence of that poem, the same thing that I also recognize here. It sort of gave language, gave a beautiful poetic encapsulation to my own feelings about this post, and why it feels so significant, what I choose to say. Because there's a part of me, like every human being, who shows up on a given day in a difficult situation and just wants to complain about it, or just wants to express the pain, just wants to, kind of vent. And, venting is actually a really apt description, because it's like letting off pressure, right? A vent lets off pressure. And as I was speaking yesterday, there's a part of spiritual practice that emerges every once in a while when we have these dark night of the soul moments, when we have these high intensity threshold moments. It's actually important not to vent in those moments. We don't want to let the pressure off. because that pressure is trying to form us. It is giving us shape. It's giving us information. It's giving us direction, potentially. And I can't imagine anybody feeling it and not having at least some impulse to want to dissipate it, want to get rid of it, because it's not comfortable. But if we are conscious about the process, if we sort of have been through this enough to get how it works, then we don't want to vent. We know we don't want to vent. We want to like almost embrace, ingest that pressure and let it utilize its power to mold our own soul. Like, let it do its job. And so when Hafiz, when I read the Hafiz poem last night about we either add to ourselves or detract. Everything we say creates a field. Everything we say creates movement in the world, and it creates an impulse. That rang so true to me, and it was a nice affirmation in a way, but also a reminder that even when we're talking to a camera, it really matters what we choose to say, how we articulate our experience, especially when it's an intense experience, gives birth to our reality. Because there's such an energetic charge around the feelings underneath that language. It makes a big difference what we say. And I feel like I'm certainly conscious of that. I have been made aware. I have been, served the information. But it's really good to be reminded. It's really good to recognize not just that that's a huge responsibility in a way, but that it's also such an opportunity. There's such an opportunity in every moment for us to create the reality we want to be living. And when we hit a pattern of the either limitation or negativity or whatever, something that's holding us down, the response is usually frustration or anger or pain or resentment or any of these negative emotions, right? They come up as we're in that moment of reckoning. That's what comes up, because it feels like we're being held down, we're being limited, we're being somehow, our integrity is being violated, not even necessarily by another human being, but but oftentimes we want to project it onto another human being. We want someone to blame because this feeling is intolerable. The feeling is painful. It undermines us. It feels like it's something that we don't want to accept about ourselves. We don't want to accept that we are doing it to ourselves, so we want to put that on someone else. But in reality, whatever the pattern is, whatever's underneath, it is giving us an opportunity to grow, and it's not just an opportunity, but a real kick in the rear. It's giving us a push. It's giving us. It might take a bit of fuel to get us up that next mountain, over that next hill, across that next ocean, whatever the image is, right? It might take some additional resources that we might not in our normal state either have access to, or know we have access to, or want to have access to. So acknowledging that and recognizing that feeling that might feel like oppression, might feel like a violation of our integrity, a squashing of our desires, our more superficial desires, to know that that's a gift, to know that that is the pressure that's forming the diamond, that's valuable information. And then what we say, how we articulate that, what we allow ourselves to form into language, is the beginning of that alchemical process. It's the beginning of creating a reality out of an impulse. So I think I was just struck by that yesterday. It felt perfectly fitting that was the poem that arrived. And I've got some work to do. There's some changes coming. So, but I'm so grateful for the ongoing little nuggets from the universe, little sparks of, hey, you're on the right track. Here you go. You're on your way. Which I do feel it consistently giving me. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a great day. I appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow.